It's another edition of the Two Bald Guys podcast. I'm Jim Chapman, and this is
James-Adam McCants.
And we pretty much talk about, I don't know, everything going on in the world,
Yep.
James.
And things we're really not qualified to speak of, actually. But we're going to talk about it nonetheless.
Exactly. Yeah, we're pretty much not qualified to talk about just about anything, but you know.
But it doesn't stop us, does it?
No, it does not. It does not. We're quite entertaining, even in our inaccuracy, I would say.
At least in our own minds.
Yes. So big stuff since last time we hooked up and did a podcast. Mm-hmm. Most notably, as of late, is the stimulus bill, the new stimulus. And some people might be listening right now and say, "What? We already had that stimulus." Well, guess what? We've had another.
Yep, we've been stimulated again.
Indeed. And we're going to have a stimulating conversation on the stimulus.
Wait, what is it? Yeah, you're right.
Like that. Stimulating conversation. There you go. I told y'all we were entertaining. So we're going to talk about President Biden. He has now signed off on a stimulus bill, the new stimulus, and it's actually already been put in a lot of people's accounts, believe it or not. Yesterday, a lot of people had so check your bank accounts. If you have not, if you were in that first wave, there's a good likelihood you might have a little surprise in your bank account. You know, whether it's good for the country, I don't know, but
it'd be hard to, in my opinion, my humbled opinion at that, it's hard to argue that it's good for long term.
It's not great if, in the long term, like you say, but we're going to, give you kind of a rundown here of everything you need to know regarding that stimulus, James. And if you're single, which you're not, but if you were, and you're making under $80,000 a year, you will receive a stimulus check. If you're married and your combined income is under $160,000, you will also receive a stimulus check. It'll be the third stimulus check we've done, actually. We did one right after COVID, and then we did one, or right after it started, and then we did one kind of in the middle. This is the third. The first stimulus check was for $1,200. Second one was for $600, and this one's going to be for $1,400 each.
So if you're single, you get stimulated.
Yes.
Married, multiple stimulation. And
yes.
then married with children, multiple stimulation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And all the stimulation is the same. There's no variance of stimulation there. Everybody is stimulated at the exact same amount.
Time? Oh, amount.
No, time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. No.
So,
Actually it is, kind of legged out as far as who gets what when, but within a week from what I understand, same thing as the second wave that came through.
yeah, I think I was on the second wave of the last stimulus that came through. It seemed like I had 4 or 5 people tell me, "Oh, I got that stimulus in my bank account," and I'm like, "I didn't." And then a few days later, I had it, so I must have been on that second.
And it's odd the way that worked out, because I don't think it has anything to do with your last name or even like the digits of your social security number. I think it all had to boil down with something. I don't know exactly what details, but to where the direct draft was going. Like that's how it was kind of broken down.
It's interesting, and you could be right, because there are some people who they bank with banks that they can see in their account. It'll say your stimulus will be deposited, and there's a lot of people that have gotten will be deposited the 17th. I don't know what it is with the 17th, but several people that I've looked at on these blogs and stuff, they show a deposit going through on the 17th, and it says that's when your stimulus will be in your bank account.
That's when you'll be stimulated.
Stimulated, yeah. I don't know if they use that term or not, but that would be hilarious.
It'd be a lot better if they
You're
did.
going to be stimulated. Sweet. Yeah, so
And they need to do it in Alexa's voice. You have been stimulated.
Yes, I agree. So the first, as we said, this one will be for $1,400 each. You're gonna receive $1,400 for yourself. Let's give you a married scenario, in a married with children scenario. You're gonna get $1,400 for you, $1,400 for your wife or your husband if you're the wife listening. And if you had 2 kids, you get $1,400 for both of those children dependents. Also, you'll get another $1,400 if you have adult dependents. So if you're taking care of your mother, for example, or your father,
Sure.
And you claim them on your taxes, you'll get a $1,400 check also for them. So if you're married, you got a family of 4, you make less than $160,000, you're going to get $5,600. Essentially, is what that means. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of sacks of crawfish.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, who cares about the price of crawfish? We've been stimulated.
Boom.
Yeah.
Let it roll.
Yeah,
Making it rain.
I want 2 sacks.
It really is. It's funny. We joke about this, but a very good friend of mine is a local restaurateur, and Friday night there was 5 people at a table of theirs that were toasting to the stimulus, doubles of Patron, and they drank like almost 4/5 of Patron sitting there. Their tab was like, after food and everything, was like $700. And that is where your stimulus goes. But that's okay. And it's like I was discussing with him. I was
They
like,
stimulated Patron.
That
restaurant,
Don Seafood, who was the one that were able to monopolize on the situation. But that's cool, because I would rather them go and blow a $700 check at a local restaurant owned by local people than to just show up at Best Buy and drop $1,200, $1,400, whatever on a flat screen that doesn't really
I agree 100%. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. Studies show that most of the people that have been getting these stimulus, other than the ones that are like, look, there's people out there that really need that. And for those people, use it, buy your food, buy whatever you need, pay your bills, whatever it is. But studies show the majority of people right now are actually banking it. They're not using it at all. They're taking it, they're putting it in their bank account. It's kind of like an emergency thing. Now, look, any other time in history, you might say that's the smart thing to do, right?
Okay.
The whole purpose of a stimulus is to stimulate the economy.
Sure.
So if you bank it, it's not really what it was intended. Now, look, some people are well off, or they're not in a bad position because of COVID, and those people, they're doing what, like I say, any other time would be the smart thing to do. They're putting it in the bank. They don't need it. But it's really not, it's going against the whole intention of it, which is to keep the economy moving and keep people buying just ridiculous stuff that they wouldn't normally buy. So
like
that's
doubles
causing,
of Patron.
Yeah, they say
up to a
it's like
$700 bill.
They say it's like 50% of what's going out there is not being spent. It's being put in an account.
I can tell you this much. I'm not putting mine back. I'm actually putting mine forward. I'm going to pay off some debts and, get a few things that have been on the quote unquote wish list in the household recently. Also may actually take a vacation this year.
Yeah. And that's a great thing to use it for. That you're obviously,
tourism is a great way to stimulate an economy, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm doing my civic duty.
Yes.
With my stimulation.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation with there's a guy that I work with. He's very smart, to say the least, and kind of a goofball, but very, very smart and very blunt. One of those guys that would be great on a podcast. Just, he's not one of these that kind of sugarcoats his words. Mm-hmm. And he's also got a very outside the box brain. So we talk about stuff like this, and I find him interesting, his remarks. And we were talking about stimulus, and he thinks it's absolutely nuts that we're doing this again, and he's like, man, this is just another step towards sending us to a socialist, kind of area of our country. And what they're doing is they're getting people to kind of rely on these stimuluses now. And it's kind of just the start of what's to come. He brought up a good point, and it was, he said, I don't have a problem, Jim, with somebody receiving that money that was in the bar industry that, they were hurt by COVID, or hairdressers, people like that were directly affected because they were shut down. But he said, we were in the paint business and we flourished through COVID. We were never shut down.
Yeah. To the point where you ran out of goods that you needed, like cans.
Yeah.
For example.
Right.
You ran shy on goods and, products to be able to service or send out your products.
Yeah. Whole nother story there.
Sure.
But he, his point was, we were essential. We were considered essential. So we never had to shut down. None of our employees' pay changed or anything. It wasn't like their hours got cut, anything like that. Everything was pre-COVID as far as we were concerned. But we were getting these checks. And he said, there's got to be a way that they could go back and figure out who was in an industry that was shut down because of COVID and who wasn't, but legally by the government.
Sure.
And kind of divvied out that way.
Sure. But we all know how inefficient the government is.
Yes.
And what would it cost us to put together a committee that then devises an entire department that then goes out and figures out? It probably cost more than just saying, oh, well, it's gone.
I agree. And here's my out of the box thinking, kind of my retort to that. Because what he says makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you could do it that way. And then the only people getting it are the ones that actually were directly affected because of it. And that all sounds great on paper, but it totally defeats the purpose of a stimulus. It's a method of the government to give us money to spend.
It's a catalyst.
Yeah. If you don't give everybody the money, then you have the same problem you do with people banking the stimulus. There's not enough money moving around.
Correct.
So that's just my thoughts on it. And look, like we said at the beginning, I don't know what I'm talking about, James.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, the thing about it is, by giving it to the people that don't bank it, that don't invest it, that don't save it for a rainy day, honestly, that's kind of what you're wanting to do, is give it to those that will go around and spend it frivolously.
Yeah.
That'll just make sure that sales happen in whatever channel that it's supposed to be in.
Yeah, 100%. So some other things on that. So look for that money, because if it's not in there yet, it's probably coming. Some questions to answer here. The stimulus checks are not going to count as taxable income. And I actually had a conversation with somebody. It was almost an argument because they kept telling me, oh, no, it's taxable. I said, no, it's not. The stimulus is not taxable. And I confirmed that.
Was it with the CPA that you were arguing with?
No, it was not a CPA.
Who cares?
So it is not taxable income. You do not have to claim it as income on your taxes. Now, here's some interesting. It gets better, James. I know you're stimulated enough, but
I'm waiting to be stimulated.
You're about to be stimulated more, because you're not only going to receive that, you're also going to receive $3,000 for each child that you have age 6 to 17, or $3,600 if they're between the ages of 0 and 6. Now, yes.
What kind of details do you know about that? Because I've heard several different things. I heard like starting at some arbitrary point, like maybe May or June, you'll start receiving it as direct deposits in your bank, broken up as if it were 12 months through the end of the year. And then the following year, that it's just a tax credit. I'm confused.
No, it's not a tax credit. I can definitely answer that one. It will not be a tax credit. It will be actual payments. Okay, so here's what we know now. They're going to be periodic payments. Originally, everybody just assumed they were going to take, if you have one kid, they were going to take $3,600 divided by 12, and that's what you were going to get in a monthly stipend, I guess you could call it. They've since changed that, and it's not written that way in the bill. The way it's written is periodic payments. One thing they did not specify was when these periodic payments would start. Now, what people are doing is they're speculating based off of what they're being told, that they're looking at July and October to kind of start running out the first payments to you. So if you have 2 kids and they were to do this quarterly, let's just say quarterly, every 3 months, they're going to send you a check, because that's what it sounds like they're wanting to do. So if you have 2 kids, you're going to get about $1,500 a quarter if they're ages 6 to 17. So you'll get that $3,000 times 2 divided by 4, which comes to $1,500 every 3 months. So that's the speculation. When it's going to start, no one really knows, but there's some rumors going around. They're going to do one in July and then another one like in October or something, somewhere around then. You'll get another. It'll be a direct deposit, but it'll be separate from the stimulus you currently get.
So is that taxable earning?
Good question. I would think not. Okay. I would think if you don't have an option, in other words, you're not going out there actually earning it.
They're forcing it on you, so to speak.
So to speak. I mean, you're taking it, but they're just kind of saying here.
Sure.
I can't see them saying, oh, and we're going to tax you on it. Although they do that with unemployment, typically.
Did you see the notice this morning that like up to 12,000 or just shy of 12,000?
10,200.
10,200, just shy of 11,000.
Yeah.
Just over 10,000.
Yes.
Is going to be non-taxable. So it's like a government contribution? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. So back to the child credit thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is fantastic news because both of my boys, I've got 2 sons, one early teenager, the other preteen. They both have savings accounts, savings bonds, even some various investments. But now they're getting $300 a month.
Yeah.
As far as when this starts, because I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
Like I'll starve and there's 1,000 things I'll do before my boys go without.
Right.
But they've not gone without yet.
Right.
So therefore, if that's what this is for, we're going to take this money and we're going to find a fantastic financial advisor, like say
me.
No, I've heard.
Look like you're pointing at me. I'm like,
I've
yes.
heard words for the contrary. No, like Jennifer Barrett with Edward Jones, or a very good friend of mine, Anthony Richard, that is a financial advisor. And I'm going to hook up with him and say, hey, dude, each of these got $300 a month. Where do we need to invest this to where, we're not looking at college tuition or we're not looking at, whatever.
That's a great point. Jennifer Barrett, listen up.
Indeed.
That'd be a good thing for her to
not necessarily
really
target, but to.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're also, James, going to be there's going to be housing aid in the stimulus bill. So there's going to be $20 billion set aside to be sent. They're going to send it to the state governments, and it's going to help households pay for back rent, rental assistance, and also help with like utility bills and things like that. You'll need to apply for it through your state, and they're going to base it off your income. So if you're someone that makes, good money, they're not going to allow you to qualify for back rent, rental assistance, stuff like that.
Doesn't necessarily apply to you.
Right.
But I have a handful of friends that it's not their main source of income, but it's a side source, or however you want to consider it, that have rental properties that have basically gone through the ringer over the past 12 months because they've not gotten rent.
Sure.
And there is no, there is no other side pushing them to make sure they pay rent because you can't evict them right now.
Yeah. And those folks right now are basically saying, yes, give them some money.
Yeah.
Because they need to pay their rent. And,
that's right.
And they've had a moratorium on evictions since this started. So they haven't been able to evict anybody when they're back on their rent. And so at least this is a way for them to get paid as well.
But I hope
hopefully they earmark it somehow to where they have to use it for their rent.
That's what I'm screaming. How do we, it goes back to the beginning of the conversation as far as the stimulus. How do you make sure that people...
There's got to be something written in there, I would think. I can't imagine they would say, well, I'm 5 months behind on my rent and here's proof. And then they just say, okay, here's a check. I can't imagine. They've got to cut the checks directly to whoever it's owed to or something. I don't know how that works, but or maybe they have to sign something saying they've received it, or I don't know. I'm speculating, but hopefully there'll be something there on that. There's going to be $5 billion sent to states to help people on the verge of homelessness, and another $5 billion to provide emergency housing to those who are already homeless. So $10 billion there. We're gonna actually be receiving. Well, they, if you're on unemployment, are going to actually be receiving more unemployment benefits from the federal government, and that's going to extend until September 6th. And it's going to be for $300. So whatever your state pays out plus $300 from the federal government and unemployment, it is what it is on that. I mean, sure. At least it's not what it was before, to the point that it was better for people to be unemployed than work. They were actually making more money. So they did lower that. Originally it was $400, and the Senate changed that to $300 before this was passed. So that's the unemployment side of it. Also, the first $10,200, as we discussed, of unemployment income will be tax-free. So they've got a lot of people freaking out right now because they've been getting unemployment income and they've already filed their taxes, and they did not include that $10,200 being tax-free. So that could cost you about $1,000. So they're going to allow those people. We see
the money pinging around. Like, who does it belong to?
Yeah. So they're going to allow those people to
amend
their taxes. But that's a mess, man. And so I guess the senators and the House members are trying to figure out a way for the IRS just to have something automatic, where if they were getting unemployment during that time and they did their taxes and did not include it, it just is automatically included.
You would think that there's some type of specific filing method or dog ear or code or whatever that these people, when they go to claim, when they go to file their taxes, that this is this money that you made, this is this money that was unemployment, this is this money that was whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you'd
think.
Put a man on the moon. I mean, you think. But anyway, they're going to have more money available to small businesses and sole proprietors. They're going to have the EIDL program with another $15 billion of funding in it, another $7 billion for PPP. And there will be a program for $25 billion exclusively for the bar and restaurant industry.
Good for them.
So if you're in that industry and you receive that money, you're going to be able to use it for payroll, rent, inventory, utilities, and some other things, instead of just, before it was just payroll. You couldn't use it for anything else. So they've amended it where you can get a lot of other things with it included. So that's basically the rundown of that. There was a lot of stuff in there that we're not going to mention. But that was the bulk of it. $1.9 trillion was the total bill this time around. And it's probably going to be, I would say this would be the last one for a long time, because they barely got this passed. They had to actually have all 50 Democrats vote for this in order to get it passed, and not one Republican voted for it. So they barely got it through, and they had to use something called reconciliation to do it.
We discussed this in the last podcast.
Yeah. So reconciliation, they had to use it, and they only get that a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, and they don't like to use it up. It's kind of like a trump card.
Or like a mulligan.
Pardon the pun. Yeah, mulligan.
Hey, wait, where's the drums?
Yeah. So they had to use it, and they don't want to use it again. So I would say at least
Well, they got to save it for the next
yeah
pile of malarkey that's coming down our. Don't get me wrong, it's coming down the pipe. We don't know when it'll be. We don't know what it'll look like, but it's coming.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot of money right now that we're putting out there. So you know what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and then I looked at the stock market, and sure enough, the stock market Friday hit a record high. Now I have some stock, so I'm not unhappy about that.
You ain't mad,
but I'm totally confused. You would think that with all this stimulus and everything that stocks would just be tanking, because basically they're printing money they don't have, and
right.
And but the Dow climbed 290 points on Friday upon people starting to get this money, and it closed. I think it's over 32,000 now, something like that. So, wow, makes sense of that for me.
It's a theory of chaos, man. You can put all the logical things that you can in place.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that the equation or the ultimate outcome is going to be what you think it is.
Correct. And none of this really makes sense. Usually when you have a bunch of debt in your country, your stocks will kind of tank because of that, or at least they'll go down. They certainly won't set record highs. It's not doing that. And here's another interesting scenario in regards to that. It's not only the stock market that is like on fire right now. So silver and gold market on fire. I mean, it's really high. And then Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin is over $60,000 a coin. Now, don't ask me to explain it, because I don't I don't understand Bitcoin hardly at all.
I get none of that concept whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, and I think you got to be a total brainiac to get Bitcoin. But it's over 60,000, which it was just at 50,000 like 10 days ago. So, go figure. But none of that stuff should be jumping right now, and it is. But it's all three things. It's gold and silver, the stock market, and Bitcoin. And usually, like when the stock market goes down, your gold and silver go up, because people are basically they're pulling money out of the stock market and they're putting it in a asset such as gold, and so it'll jump up when the stock market goes down. Then the stock market goes up and gold goes down because people are pulling out their gold and putting it in the market. Nothing makes sense. We're in bizarro world.
Well, but the same thing happened late 90s, early 2000s with the .com bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is anything related? Like
it could be.
Is that the same situation where basically money just keeps flowing in, and people are putting it in places and buying things and this, that, and the other? But let's be honest.
Is it overinflating? Is the question, and which is another word for bubble? And I think in the short term, if somebody gives you money and you spend it and things are moving and shaking, it's definitely going to inflate things, and including the market. Mm-hmm. But what happens when that stimulus stops? And that's kind of the question. At that point, to me, you're going to see a big pullback in the market when nobody has free money to spend.
That's right. That's when the proverbial bubble bursts.
Yeah, and you're kind of seeing it in industry right now. There's a lot of price increases going on everything. I mean, lumber. Okay.
Yeah.
Lumber. Huge right now. Probably 100% markup in
300.
Is it?
That's what I've been told. 300.
I know a 2x4 is like $8 for
it's more than
untreated.
I happened to be at Home Depot yesterday at the rental department and just kind of peeked over to look and see, and I guarantee you it was 4 times the price for a 2x4 untreated 8-foot than it was the last time I bought it, which was this year.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
It's scary. Is what it is.
And it's not limited to just lumber. Everything is going up.
Yeah.
Freight freight right now is double what it used to be. So that's how you get goods to you. So if a store or retail location needs, whatever, toothpaste, and they don't ask me why I picked toothpaste, but we're going with toothpaste.
Sure.
They need toothpaste and they get it delivered to them from their freight company. It's going to be more expensive for the freight, which is going to make them do what? Mark up the toothpaste.
That's right.
Right. So, so the issue there becomes everything becomes more expensive. Freight controls everything. So as far as pricing,
Jim, let me ask you something, because I've had somebody pose this question to me earlier this week about the rise in fuel prices.
Yes. Okay. Another one. Yeah. Good point.
So,
although we like rising fuel prices here,
but see, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So where does it all equate? Where does it all level out? Where do we all be happy? Because at $1.89 a gallon, we were posting memes about I'd pay $2.39 a gallon if it meant that my oil and gas working friends out there had a secure job.
Indeed.
This, that, and the other. But then it bumps up, and then it almost seems like the same faction is saying now, look what's happened since Biden. But no, wait, like what does it all equate out to? Like
I think a good, total speculation, but I think for me, I've always thought if gas was around $2.50 a gallon, $2.60 a gallon, the oil company was, oil companies were making money. The guys were working. They weren't laying people off, and everybody was happy. Now, I remember when gas a few years ago went to $4 a gallon. I was driving an Expedition EL at the time, and it would cost me $120 to fill it up, and I filled it up about once a week. That's too much. Yeah. Don't want $4 a gallon gas. No. That's ridiculous. So that is where it starts to hurt your economy. That, at $4 a gallon, if you're working at Exxon, you're rocking and rolling. Or are you? Is it because your expenses have gone up to the point that it has to be $4 a gallon? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand the whole roundabout of this of oil and gas in the economy, and not in the economy. I'm talking like, I don't understand how everything equates. I don't understand how everything works out. Yeah. Like, are we paying more for gas now because of what? I don't understand why.
Well, they go off of OPEC's. I know somewhere along the line, OPEC has a price of a barrel of oil.
Which plummeted like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
To where they're practically giving it away. You were paying
negative.
more for the metal barrel than you were for the freaking oil.
Correct.
Like, but that's the whole thing. I don't understand how all this goes on. And then this, we'll reference back to the beginning of the podcast, how we don't know anything what we're talking. At least I don't. Yeah. Now, this is where I throw up the white flag and say, I have no idea.
Well, but James, that's most people. That's, unless you are deep into it and you are, an oil company executive or, something like that. I don't think pretty much anybody knows how it works. Why do you pay $2.65? Because that's what the tank says.
Yeah, because that's what I have to do to make sure I can
leave here.
The
machine says $2.65, and so that must be legit. They could say $10.65.
I guess what I'm boiling down to is like, no, the current president I did not vote for. He's not necessarily my guy, but to like turn around and say it's his fault that the oil has gotten to this. I don't know. Yeah. I can't say it's his fault. I'm paying as much as I am when I fill the tank up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I just don't.
Well, and look, they'll make decisions, presidents, and for example, Biden stopped a lot of the. He stopped the pipeline. Well, now, did that have an effect on the gas price? I don't know, but he definitely stopped it, and that could have an effect at some point, maybe. Pure speculation.
Yeah.
But
and see, that's another thing. Depending on where you read, he didn't stop the pipeline. He stopped leases from this or that or the other, and I don't understand all that stuff. Like I
don't either.
I wish there was like, Oil Economics for Dummies book that I could not read.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I can talk somebody else into reading and explaining it to me.
Yeah, we just pay it. I mean, up to a reasonable amount. Now, you start getting $4 a gallon. I remember, this wasn't too long ago, 2008, 2009. But when it hit $4 a gallon, they had some people raising Cain around here about that, and it didn't last long. But I don't know, man. You just kind of pay it. Who really questions it? If all the gas stations are around the same price, it's like, well, I guess it's $3 a gallon.
It's hard to squall over it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So enough all this political stuff.
Right.
Jim, have you boiled any crawfish this season?
I have not. I heard they were small.
We did our first one yesterday, and it was fantastic.
Really? Good size?
Let me tell you what. It was, we ran the gamut. From little ones all the way to, there weren't any monsters in there, but there were some good sized ones, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I need to do that. How much are they a pound right now?
Ranging in between $3.50 and $4.
Okay,
which is high.
Yeah, but it's pretty high.
I will be stimulated shortly.
Yeah,
so
give me 2 sacks, all the fixings. I want mushrooms.
It was me. The neighbor, or our household, the neighbors next door, and the neighbors across the street. So, the grand scheme of things, we've spent way more money for way less.
Yeah,
for
the best sound in the world, James, is. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Indeed,
Love
it is.
Love it.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah,
or one of them at least.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Everybody kind of has their own way of cooking crawfish or boiling crawfish. It just, kind of depends on who taught you. My father-in-law taught me, and he's from Ornerville, so I believe.
What's his last name?
Olivier.
Yeah, you can't go wrong being taught anything in the Cajun way.
That's right.
By a guy with the last name Olivier.
Yeah, and I pride myself on it. Of course, everybody does. They're like, "Oh, you've never had crawfish like mine." So it just depends.
Honestly, it's like the same guy that's like, you've never eaten steak until you've eaten my steak. And I'm not going to turn them down.
No.
Like, yep, bring it.
No, I'm going to say, I don't believe you. Prove it.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
That's right. So, of course, here in South Louisiana, this time of year is crawfish time. And things, COVID numbers are going down. People are kind of getting together more, obviously, than they were last year at this time, where
everything was
knew
haywire.
What the heck was going on? But the COVID numbers are looking good right now. People that want to get vaccinated are getting vaccinated, and I think that that's helping the numbers, and hopefully we'll see a continued tick down, and hopefully it won't be much longer before things go back to as normal as they can possibly get. And maybe
I hate the term new normal.
Yeah, I do too.
But honestly, every 5-10 years, things change.
Yeah.
And it's like evolution in a certain aspect, Like I can remember.
Yeah, but this was a heck of an evolution.
but dude, I can remember going to Baton Rouge Airport when I was 14 years old, and whether or not you were flying or not, you got to walk all the way to the gate. And nobody stopped you and asked you anything or did anything.
You didn't even need an ID to fly.
No. It was like, oh, you got your ticket?
Yeah.
Hop on.
Yeah.
It
wasn't too long ago, man.
And these things happen, and just like 100 years ago, something that would be incredibly abrasive or invasive for them to look at the way that we do something, it's just our reality, you know? I mean, things change. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And for the better, for worse, but
one positive to come out of all that, I guess, is we
the
didn't have no
away?
flu. Yeah, dude, no flu.
Yeah.
Which some of that is people are more cognizant of washing their hands now. For example,
that's the biggest thing right there. I don't give a crap what anybody says about anything. That is the biggest contributor right there, is the fact that people wash their hands more often.
The birthday song. You sing happy birthday when you wash your hands, and that's plenty of time.
See, I've been doing the Lord's Prayer because that's what I've been told from the get-go. If you do the Lord's Prayer while you're washing, our Father, then by the time you're done, all the germs are gone.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, except for when I'm at church now, it's a total Pavlovian experience when they start the Lord's Prayer, and my hands feel so dirty. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got to go wash my hands. Like,
The most impressive thing about that, though, James, is you use the word Pavlovian in a sentence.
Pavlovian.
Yeah, that. In a sentence. How many bald guys you know can do that?
Few and far between, my friend. And that will be your weekly stimulation.
That was impressive. Yeah, I can't even spell that. Very good. Yeah, it's, people are washing their hands more. They're more cognizant of if they're coughing, they're coughing in their elbow. Things like that alone have helped with that. So not as much flu. As a matter of fact, pretty much non-existent throughout the country. I mean, I think it's down like 95%. So,
and there's
your
another
flu shot providers are like, hey.
There's another camp that may argue that, maybe flu hasn't been the one to chalk up all these deaths for.
Yeah.
In the years past.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but
I haven't heard that one yet. But yeah, I could see people saying that, and I don't know if I buy that. I mean, you can test, you can see a difference between those two.
But who knows? Because
scientists.
There is a wide range of flu symptoms, just like there's a wide range of COVID symptoms. And both of them are respiratory and or pulmonary.
Yeah.
To some extent. And we don't really know.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. You could have definitely had what you thought was the flu, and it was not, and vice versa.
Right.
And I'm sure there's cases like that out there. But you definitely see just a dramatic drop-off in cases that they would normally classify as the flu.
We've all been more aware of how germs, play a part in sickness and death.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. That's right.
So we'll take the positive takeaway and go with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all we can do, really. So let's talk about some local news and some local things coming up. Just was going through Facebook and saw some interesting local stuff right here in Livingston Parish that we got going on. One of them that I wanted to shout out was the Denham Springs Kiwanis Club is having a clay shoot May 7th, 2021. It is, we're not going to cover all the pricing and everything, but you can go to the Denham Springs Kiwanis Club website, and they're going to have a 9:00 shotgun start, no pun intended, or maybe there is pun intended on that one. Yeah. So lunch, they're going to have door prizes. There's 100 clays at 15 stations, and the first place team prize. So if you want to put a team together and go shoot some guns and knock them clays down, you can.
Yeah.
May 7th, 2021.
It's our neighbors who actually own that.
Really?
At Denham Springs Radiator Glass.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Charles Prescott owns that, and I've yet to participate in a clay shoot. So that very well may be a good opportunity for me.
Oh, yeah. They're fun.
Jump on it.
Yeah.
So you've done one?
I've done a lot of clay shooting, but not on a course. Not on a course. Not for competition purposes. Sure. I used to go to a buddy of mine had his grandmother lived on a bunch of land, and he had skeet throw machines and things like that, and we'd go out there and shoot. They called me Dead-Eye Jim back then.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's pretty. Actually, I was pretty decent at it when I did it, but it's been many years since I have. That looks like fun though. So check that out. Also, here's one that I'm actually definitely going to and really excited about. Cinco Watson Fest 2021 is taking place May 1st, Saturday of 2021. They're going to have 3 bands there. Chase Tyler Band, popular band. Bag of Donuts is going to be there, and also the Molly Ringwalds, all in one day.
Interesting.
So it's going to be fun. Yeah, that's I like all 3 of those bands. So
I've never seen Chase Tyler or Bag of Donuts, but I've seen Molly Ringwalds.
Yeah, they're awesome.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I don't care who you are. That's good stuff.
Yeah. All 3 of them well-known bands from this area. Of course, Chase Tyler's from Livingston Parish. I don't know if the Ringwalds and Bag of Donuts are, but they're from Louisiana. I know that.
I want to say both of them are from the New Orleans area.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they're all going to be in one place on May 1st, and it's going to be in Watson. Not exactly sure where that's at because it's not on my flyer, but you can look it up. It's on Facebook. I'm sure they'll have something there. Easter Bunny photos, James. I know you've been asking me about that lately.
I have.
He does a Easter Bunny photo every year.
Every year of my life.
So Home Key Mortgage and Tiffany C. Card.
What?
And Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Southern Properties
Berkshire
is doing Easter Bunny photos on, what did I say?
Berkshire.
Oh, yeah,
it's okay.
Same thing.
It's not like,
Potato.
Sure.
So they're going to be hosting Easter Bunny photos on the 20th of March. So check those out.
That's this Saturday coming, right?
Yes, this Saturday coming.
Right.
It's going to be at Home Key Mortgage's new office, which is the old C.J. Brown building right here by the podcast studio. So on Range. So go check them out. You can get your bring your kids, get a photo with the Easter Bunny or James. Great place for you to go get your photo this year.
Check it out. I will plan on it.
Yes. So seniors for the class of 2021 at Denham Springs High School, Project Graduation is having a parent meeting on April 1st at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday, April 1st.
Wait. Like, is it a meeting for real, or is it an April Fool's Day?
No, that's a good question. Yeah, they may want to adjust that date. Psych. There's no one here. That'd be hilarious if you went up there and on the door it was April Fool's and you left work early or whatever. Yeah, that'd be great. But I did see that pop up on Facebook. So Project Graduation 2021 at Denham Springs High School. You have a parent meeting on April 1st, 2021 at 6 o'clock. So check that out. Last thing we're going to talk about today, another venture that is occurring here at the Podcast Central studio right here where we film and do the Two Ball Guys podcast. And that is that we have a company that has started called Envision Podcast Studio Rentals. So James has been wanting to know all about this.
Indeed, I have.
Yes, he's had many questions.
Give me the deets.
So essentially what this is we're going to be renting out this podcast studio for anyone that would like to start their own podcast. And there's, this is a huge market right now. A lot of people are getting into podcasting, of course, famous people. You can, Oprah Winfrey on down has a podcast now, on down to me and you.
I would say me.
We even have one. Yeah. But the problem with or issue that a lot of people run to with podcasting is having a place to do it, having the equipment to do it, and really the expertise to do it. It's a lot more than just sitting down and talking. There's a lot of editing that goes on after that podcast. Yeah. You've got to be kind of skilled in how to get that out there to the public. So that was so Envision Podcast Studio Rentals will do everything from, if you are a skilled guy and you just don't have a soundproof booth and quality microphones and cameras,
the best that money can buy.
The best that money can buy. If you don't have that, you can use this studio right here, and so that way you can get your message out. And maybe you don't want to sit down and talk to me. Maybe you just want to sit down and talk to yourself and the public.
Well, Jim, the biggest question is, if somebody was interested in doing something like that, how would they go about, so getting the information and also scheduling as far as their podcast goes?
Well, and here's the great thing about that is when we had this website put together, which is envisionpodcaststudio.com. If you go to that website, it will show you all the equipment options you have. It will also break down all the services that are being offered, because it's a lot more than just podcasting. Maybe that's all you want. Maybe that's all you need. But let's say you're someone that has no idea how to distribute it. You have no idea how to edit it, all those sorts of things. We offer those services as well. So basically, if you wanted to start a podcast tomorrow, you could come down, sit here, talk, and I can have it put out there by the next day. So it's a one-stop shop, basically. We can even build a website for you if that's what you're looking for your podcast.
Nice.
So from start to finish, you can actually schedule it online. It's just like when you're booking a trip to Disney World, man. You go on there, you pick a time. It'll tell you, how much it is per half hour.
I was going to say, that's important. So there's no sticker shock.
Yeah.
As you're going along and adding things to
how much it costs.
The cart, how much it costs.
That's right. And we broke things down into packages. So, if you're someone and you're wanting like a starter package on it, which would be like 2 podcasts and distribution of that podcast, there's a price on there. You can add it to the cart. You can go ahead and book your time slots for that podcast and reserve your booth right then and there, in the privacy of your own home. Of course, if you had any questions, you can certainly reach out to us and we can answer anything you have on that. Sure. But this makes it really easy for everybody to go ahead and book it and get in here and be the star of your own show and all those sorts of things.
And look, let me tell you something. There's, a lot of people have like these delusions of grandeur, or maybe even like some dream or whatever that they may want to be involved in media in some capacity and want to be a part of a podcast. Guess what? You're about to be stimulated to the point where you got money to throw towards it. Let's try it. Let's do it.
That's right.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
This is exactly what we were talking about earlier with the stimulus package. We're just throwing money at things just to see. This isn't money that blood, sweat, and tears earned.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens. And this is a great opportunity to do that.
And yes. And another advantage to it is, some people, if you don't have this option, if you don't have the option to rent a studio with the equipment already there, all those sorts of things, you go out, you buy all this equipment, and then what happens if it doesn't take off? Well, you've got $10,000 in equipment,
or you can't figure out how to work it.
Yeah. Or you just don't like it. You do it a couple times and you're like, man, I just, it ain't for me or whatever. Well, this is a way to have very, very little investment in it, but still test the waters.
And what's the website again?
The website is envisionpodcaststudio.com.
And is there any way to reach it on social media?
Yeah, you can go. We have a Facebook, which is also Envision Podcast. I think it's at Envision Podcast Studio. But you can certainly hit that search bar and just type in Envision Podcast and it'll pull it up.
And surely there's links between Two Bald Guys and...
Yes. And we're going to link it to this show. I'll link all of that in the description, and that way if people are interested, they can just click. Speaking of which, Two Bald Guys also has a Facebook and a YouTube, and we even have an Instagram, I believe. I'm almost positive. So I'll link those as well. Give us a like on Facebook so we at least feel like we're as interesting as we think we are in our minds.
Stimulate our self-esteem.
Yes, we could use a little bit of that. And subscribe to us on Facebook. Look, we're just having fun. This is just something we primarily do for fun and there's a little education there, hopefully, that people learn. But that's not what we're out for. We're just out to have a good time. And,
that's right.
And talk about things, the happenings or the goings on.
That's right.
In the world.
Or bring things to the table that I don't understand, or maybe you don't understand, or maybe both of us don't understand, and put it on the comments to correct us. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I'll be the first to tell you.
I get corrected all the time. Yeah. I'm totally wrong half the time, at least, and no one hesitates to tell me. It's weird. So anyway. But that's basically we've been going an hour, so hopefully y'all enjoyed the show today. We'll be back real soon, and we'll there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then, so we'll have plenty of subject matter. Trust me,
indeed,
plenty of subject matter. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our page on YouTube, and also give us a like on Facebook. We would appreciate it. I am Jim Chapman.
I'm James-Adam McCants.
And we are
Two Bald Guys
from the Deep South.
Boom.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you.